Good afternoon, this is Evan with Build Brothers Roofing and Solar doing a digital inspection out here on an architectural asphalt shingle roof. Wanted to point out a couple things here. This is a 3-tab shingle roof, so this type of shingle is not manufactured anymore, it's discontinued. This roof was built 23 years ago, and these types of roofs usually have a lifespan of anywhere from 20 to 25 years, if well maintained, maybe 30 years. So this roof is on the last leg of its life. I wanted to point out some of the conditions and what I am seeing. So the first thing I look for when I get on a shingle roof is the condition of the actual shingle material. So I'm looking for granule depletion, which you can see in some areas. You can see the granules that slide off as the oils evaporate from sun exposure over decades. You see shingle material where granules have slid off, but you also see some where the granules are still intact, which is a good sign. I don't see much exposed fiberglass on this roof, except for one section in particular. So that's that shiny stuff that you see here. That shiny stuff is really just from repeated continuous sun exposure over time. And when you do see exposed fiberglass, the waterproofing capability of a shingle roof is greatly affected. And so we are having a leak on the exterior wall. And so we'll get back to that here in a second, but I wanted to point out a few other things here. You have a flat torch down section to direct water flow off this roof. It has done a pretty good job of that. I don't see really any ponding, so the angle at which this was installed is correct. You have these cool clay tiles on the ridge for that aesthetic look. You do see that from time to time. Want to make sure that I'm inspecting the mortar caps or the ridge caps here. I don't see any cracking in the middle, which is a good sign, but eventually these kind of mortar caps do crack, so it's just something to monitor. Don't see any here either. So it was installed professionally. I also want to make sure and check the condition of the adhesion. I'm basically testing how strong or how loose the material is. In some areas, the shingle is definitely still adhered, but in plenty of areas, you have the shingle that's way too easy to lift here. It's characteristic of a roof over 20 years old. So I shouldn't be able to do this. If there's a lot of shingle that can lift up this easy, it just exposes the roof to wind-driven rain. So I'm not gonna rip this roof apart, but you can see this really starting to give way here. But in some areas, it's still well adhered. You have a little bit of bubbling on this section here. But yeah, so let's get back to this section here. So we're having a leak on the exterior wall right here. And I noticed that you have a pergola roof or a patio roof that was constructed. Homeowner took apart the rest of the flat, but you have a torch down section here with shiplap underneath. It was a little confusing because you have a gutter that separates the patio roof from the sloped. So this must have been installed, or there's a chance this was installed after the construction of the house and the roof. But there's two things that could be happening here. This flat roof could be collecting water, and then it will get stuck under the gutter, and it just creates an area where water is sitting instead of what a roof is supposed to do, which is to direct water flow away and off of the house. But you also have a lot of exposed fiberglass, which signifies loose material. So you can see how easy I can lift that up here. Again, I'm not out here tearing the roof apart. I'm just lifting up and seeing how well adhered or how loose the material is. And so this is just an example of a roof that's gone over 20 years old. And so in reality, there are most likely multiple leaks on a home that's over 20 years old. And the leak that's getting onto the exterior wall is just the first that's visible. So you also have some exposed nail heads. This can create areas where water can potentially get through. This material is getting really loose. So in my professional opinion, and in my recommendation and based on my findings, this roof is on the last leg of its life. It has no active leaks yet inside, but it is only a matter of time before this roof has a failure point where that will occur. It really only has 2 to 3 years left of life on it before probable failure. And as far as this section here, we will have a couple options. We can come out, we can tear off this flat roof and eliminate the water that is just sitting there. But if the homeowner would like to explore options to redo it and reseal, then we can explore those as well. But it would require some re-roofing of this section and this section to integrate with a new TPO flat roof. But this roof does have about 2 to 3 years. I mean, if they're super lucky,